Welcome everyone to Grape Finance's weekly AMA. My name is Nicky and I'm here with LB. Welcome LB.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining in. A little bit early for only for US people stuff.
Yeah, in the middle of the night, you mean?
Yeah,
It's in the
yeah.
middle of the night for. It's early for me. I mean, no, not necessarily. It's 10:35 for me at the
Okay,
moment.
yeah. That's a decent time. Yeah.
AM. Yeah, I did wake up through my alarm, so I guess, because
Okay,
otherwise I would have slept in.
yeah. Yeah. Well,
My
it's
alarm went
Saturday.
like,
It's a weekend or whatever.
yeah,
Or it's a
it's my
Sunday.
Sunday
Yeah.
actually. Yeah, it's my Sunday. Yeah. Um, well, yeah, my alarm went like, time for the AMA, let's go. Okay, we start off with Neat Grape, who's saying, "Hey, Lamp Brisket, with the news of Ava Labs partnering with AWS and aggressively expanding the number of subnets they're employing this year, does this make a Grape subnet more achievable? Is it something somewhere on the roadmap, or more just maybe a nice thing to have?" This also touches on the idea of the roadmap, which
hmm
we still need to release, I guess.
Yeah. Well, with subnets, I mean, I think it's pretty cool anyway that you can now deploy using AWS. I mean, AWS is pretty, like one of the big server providers, so it's good that you can actually just one click into it. Although AVAX or Avalanche docs aren't too bad anyway. Like you can set it up on a normal server, relatively easy. Um, but in terms of us making a subnet, subnets are really good for specific use cases. If we have a use case for it, then I think we would do it. We would obviously do it, but right now there isn't a specific use case for it because we do it so that we can control the environment basically. If we were to make something really specialized, maybe like a lot of games use it. Maybe we can put the game on there. That may be a good option because then we can control we can control the sort of the gas token as well. We can make the environment much quite efficient for the game specifically, and things like that. So I mean, there's you know it's cool that they're making it really nice and easy, and it does decrease the barrier to making one for us. But it's still like if there's no need for it, then we won't do it. But if there's a good specific use case that makes sense, then we will do it. Because there are still running costs. You have to pay for the servers. You have to run the servers. Um, so there has to be kind of like a good reason for it. Um, but
Yeah, basically,
putting a game on it is
but
probably a good reason.
yeah, basically, the reason or a reason to do it would be that the gas token, of course, it would be a burning mechanism, so to speak, in a way.
Yeah, that's a
Not
nice
necessarily.
advantage too.
Yeah, it would take some of the tokens out of circulation. So that's what it would do. But if it also has a running cost, then as long as you're too small, the AVAX that is now spent as gas token doesn't isn't bigger, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
You'd
yes,
want to have a proper reason for. I mean, there's
there's a tipping point.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And for people who aren't very good with abbreviations like me, I just googled AWS is Amazon Web
Oh yeah.
Services. The thing is, I already knew that AVIX was partnering with Amazon.
Mhm.
I just didn't connect it to the abbreviation AWS.
Yeah.
I'm stupid like that. I'm not good with abbreviations. Really bad. All right,
Uh,
moving on. Neat Grape also saying, "Hey, loud bass. What are you most excited for in crypto this year, outside of Grape Finance, of course? So outside of our ecosystem, I would say. Or
yeah, well, I think I'm I'm always excited for what the basically what people will come up with and innovate on. this sort of that's what I really like about the DeFi space in general is that things move really fast, and you have a lot of apps being built on top of apps, which makes things, uh, makes the environment really collaborative, and you can come up, people come up with some really cool use cases for, a whole bunch of like financial tooling and primitives and things like that, and you really kind of get surprised sometimes, like, wow, people can actually do that, like there's for example, there's a whole bunch of delta neutral vaults coming out of, on using GLP as the how they get the yield basically, but they remove the volatility from you holding, Bitcoin and ETH and that sort of stuff inside it, and that's just like an app built on top of, very popular trading app, which is GMX, and they've been really
Yeah, that's
popular
pretty cool.
recently. But they're just like little cool, cool apps that people make because everything is just open and you can interface with other apps really easily. And that's kind of one of the real strong points of DeFi compared to traditional finance, is that you can very easily build on top of things, and therefore expand its utility and its reach and use case, um, because everything's very collaborative. And so
Yeah.
this is what I really like about it. And I think nothing's going to stop that basically. And from that, we're going to have a lot of cool things popping up. Every year, there's something new that comes out that's really cool, and that's what I always like.
Yeah. Well, the question wasn't asked of me, but I kind of want to answer
Yeah.
because, you know, as some people might know, I'm also in a team with Chilio and the people from Celestial, and there we're building something that he wanted to build a few years ago, but he was waiting sort of for the code to catch up with his idea, and
Mm,
that happened. So now we're going to have a platform where people can trade NFTs, which is not new. Or people can borrow against NFT collateral, which is not new but not done so
mm,
often. And there's going to be an auction house, which is also not new. But all of these things he's done in a very nice way. I've seen what he's written so far, and the site works so quickly and
mm,
so nice and intuitive. And we're also still working on that and making it better. And the thing is, and this is kind of new, we're going to m- uh, have the revenue that we get,
mm,
or a big part of the revenue that we get from that platform, and share it over token holders, so people can actually invest in the platform.
mm,
And it's going to be done via a reflection token, and people usually are scared for the whole reflection tokens because they've been used so badly. Usually, they've been used
Shitty meme
inflationary.
coins. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like, okay, you just reflect extra tokens that have no support. But in this case, yeah, in this case, we're actually going to use the proceeds from the platforms to actually buy the reflection tokens that we're going to reflect. So they have support in the liquidity pool. And that means that your investment is actually growing when it reflects. So I'm pretty excited about that because I think it's a really cool way of doing things. Like it's not unique or completely new, but it's just done very well, or at least we're planning to do it very well. And we're now in the final stages, which probably means, the final months before
Yeah.
we're going to launch that. But I'm very excited about that. I'm really looking forward to that. So yeah, that's
And
my
that's
thing.
artsy. That's we'll hear
Yeah,
about
that's
that soon,
artsy. Yeah.
probably. Yeah.
Yeah, so ARTSY, and we're there's a thing though. We're still looking at that. He's pretty married to the name, Chilio,
Hmm.
but at the same time, there are a lot of companies already called that, so we might
Hmm.
wanna, nah, we're
Maybe
still
add
looking at
another
that. But
keyword or something. I don't know.
Yeah, like artsy DeFi or something.
Hmm.
But it's gonna be great. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry for the shameless plug, but
No,
just
that's
had to get this off my chest, man.
if people, I get, I think if people ask the question and they're asking me specifically, really they're asking, whoever's on the call here. So,
Yeah,
you know,
that's true. That's true. All right. Moving on to the next one. That's Saint saying thoughts on allowing a place to reset a skill level or more. Burn vintage to reset a skill level and choose a different skill. Maybe a fresh year reset. Redo your skills for a fee. Um, so that's basically about winemaker, right? Um,
yeah,
it's
it's a,
a interesting thing. When I play Warhammer Total War,
mm.
I'm often like, oh damn, I might have wanted to
Yeah,
use that
yeah,
skill tree a bit differently. So a
yeah.
reset can be very valuable.
Yeah, yeah, it is. I mean, we have a reset in general, like you can reset all your skills in one go. Um, but and I guess he's talking about like resetting individual skills um, instead. And I think there's nothing really stopping us from doing that. I think we can do that. I think what I need to look over the contract and see how that's done. Um, and I think that contract's not upgradable, unfortunately. The skill one. But maybe there's another way to implement something like that. So I'll have a look into that.
All right. Well, it's a nice suggestion, anyway. But it's nice to know that it's actually already possible, but then in a different way and probably a more roundabout way.
Yeah, you can
But
reset
you,
all your skills in one go if you want.
yeah, and then spend them again. Sort of.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Okay, then we move on to Mark Larms, who's saying, "Hi, Nikki and LB. I hope you're well. Um, I am. I hope you're well as well. Um, I'm just a grape and wine holder at the moment. Yeah, me too. So I don't play any of the games, etc. Yeah. Basically, I tried and then I got a bit confused and then I moved on. But he's got the same thing, like just a wine and grape holder. Is there is there an updated figure for the total grape burnt through the games? And thank you again for these AMAs. Really appreciate it. Wine to the moon.
I haven't done any burning recently. It's just everything that's just gone to the DAO wallet, and I've just kept it for now. Um, so would need to go through and send some back to the split the LP, send some back to the burn wallet, etc. But right now I'm just keeping it as some POL until we just finalize some things and then do some migrations and then probably burn the remaining. Um, so that will be updated when we do that and send it to the burn contract, which will then update on the site.
Yeah, that touches on something else, which we might want to talk about at the end of the AMA, which is um, the size of the pools, I guess. Because if you like, if you split the LP and burn some, then the pool becomes shallower. But
Hmm.
considering our current price, it might not be so bad.
Hmm.
Um, but moving on to Toasty. If or when Nodes v2 converts to something else, can we please get a primer on SodaPress or whatever it moves to? I've read the educative charts, but I still feel a little at a loss, I think, about what might be coming next.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, they can be a little bit, complex to understand fully. But we do like the education here, so we'll need to revamp some stuff, add some extra details, and like simplify things a little bit on the informative side. So yeah, for sure.
All right, cool. Then we move on to Need Raisin saying, "What's happening with vintage? Any plans to make it more valuable? I've accumulated stacks of it, but now it's nearly worthless. Old rope? What's old rope?
Oh, I
Anyway,
think that's who asked the question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think
Right.
yeah. So vintage right now, obviously, it's a hyperinflationary token for the game. And the loop right now is using it to get S vintage and then use that to earn wine. Um, but in the future, obviously, the plan is to kind of revamp the game a little bit. This is kind of what we've been working on in the behind the scenes to revamp the game, implement a couple new mechanics, which will then tie in vintage to be more utilized a bit more than what it is now. Um, so that would help with. We want to reduce some of the inflation too, and kind of tie it in so that uh, you're almost incentivized to not have to sell vintage, but rather loop it in to increase, skill sets within the game, etc. So that will come when we sort of revamp the game as a sort of major update, which will be in these next few months.
All right. Need Raisin himself asks something as well. Can something be created to show the value of shares with the presses?
Well, yeah, I think
Oh wait,
yeah,
Tess says it's already there.
yeah. We
So
have it.
this
We
quick.
have it on the dashboard. We don't have a thing over time, like a graph over time. I think is what he's asking. Um,
Oh yeah.
the thing with that is that needs to all that sort of data where you capture things over time on the chain needs to be stored in an actual database in some sort of separate database, um, which we did to track. So this is something we can definitely do. I think you can look at for a general idea, you can look at the share price, which it does show you. One share equals 2.69 wine there, MMLP, and you'll know that when the press starts, it starts at 1. So now it's 2.69. So that's over this period of time since it started, it's gone to from 1 to 2.69. So you can get that sort of idea. But in terms of, looking at different, in terms of looking at how it actually got to that point in a graph, we need to track that separately, not on chain. Which we can do, and it's something we'll probably implement as well. But we need an actual database to track that.
Hmm. All right. And would you be interested in doing that, or is it a low priority thing?
It's somewhat of a low priority. I mean, it's something. It's like a cool to have feature for like a
Yeah.
graph.
Yeah. I get it. I get it. So when there's extra time, which is always hard to come by, but moving on to a Lillipop saying, when will the nodes be migrated into the presses?
Yeah. So this month,
When?
obviously mission's ending, and we're gonna have a bit of a rollover for grapes next. Basically, grape for the next year. So in this sort of period of time, things will be migrated to and ended, and new things will come up to replace that. So that's basically what we're gonna do. It all in the one in this back end of the month here.
All right. So end of the month. Moving on to Neat Grape again, saying, "Hey, Lambo buyer." And that's kind of a direction for this question because what's the what's the first luxury you're going to treat yourself to when Vinium is a multi-billion-dollar operation? And have you got much of a chance to try out Magic World or sneak peeks behind the scenes? Will we see you on the battlefield?
Yeah, I mean, for Magic World, yeah, obviously, talk to Owen relatively often. We're in a group with him where he showcases some of the upcoming updates, so we do get some sneak peeks. And we've played some rounds there as well. So you'll probably see me around on the Benefield. Probably not often, but come around to every now and then to take everyone's winnings. So
To just ace, to
yeah,
just ace it all.
yeah. But I don't know. I'm a casual guy. I don't like in terms of luxury stuff. I'm not too big on that sort. I'm a simple guy. Um, I don't need much. I like a good computer. I'll treat myself to a good computer. Even though I have a good one now, but the tech moves so
The
fast.
best.
The problem is that it was like good. It was like top like 2 years ago. But now that's behind now. The stuff moves too
Yeah,
fast.
I get you. 2 years is a long time in
Yeah,
computer world.
it is.
Yeah. I did that past spring when Grape really was soaring. I was
Yeah,
like, yeah, I'm gonna buy myself a new PC.
yeah. You do need
So
it.
this,
You know,
yeah, I didn't really need it.
I
Had
didn't really
a
need
decent. I didn't really need it. I really wanted to play Warhammer Total War 3, so
Yeah,
I needed it.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I get that. That's a nice thing to treat yourself to. I guess if things go that well and there's so much money, I'll just buy fuckloads of land. And
That's always valuable.
well,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
very
and
worthwhile.
not just for valuable, but I have so many cool plans for fuckloads of land, and
Yeah,
so I want to get move forward with that. So
yeah,
that's
definitely.
what I'll do, and invite a lot of people on it too. So it's not
Yeah.
just for me. um, and of course, be free of trouble. I like being free of trouble. Just
That's
the
yeah.
idea that you
Your own
don't have to
land.
worry.
You can do whatever you
Yeah,
want.
you got your own land. You got enough on. I probably convert to something like Bitcoin or gold or a mixture
Mhm.
or whatever, and just so that I wouldn't be um, preyed upon by the central banks
Mhm.
that much.
Yeah, and then you have to
And
be
then I would just
self-sufficient.
yeah, then I'd just be safe, right? It's really interesting that in this world, the thing we want most is just to be safe
Yeah,
and be
yeah.
okay. Um,
And
and
safe
maybe
from the government too.
yeah, safe from the government that's preying on us. Okay. Um, moving on to Derek Oz saying, "Hey, legendary Barati," and this I saw this there, and I needed to know what Barati was. So Barati, I searched Wikipedia, which is never the greatest, the place to go look for, but it primarily is uh, an epithet of the Hindu goddess of knowledge and music, Saraswati. And the thing is, then I needed to look up what an epithet was, right? Because I had no idea. But an
Yeah,
epithet
the
is an
rabbit
adjective or
hole.
phrase.
Yeah.
Yeah, an adjective or phrase expressing a quality or attribute regarded as characteristic of the person or
Ah.
thing mentioned. So
Mhm.
basically, he says that you're very knowledgeable and musical and poetical, I guess. So, legendary
Thanks for that.
musician poet. There we go. Would it be possible or desirable to offer winemaker NFTs as prizes in a casino?
Mhm.
Masters, vintners, mags, shears, hydrometers, corkers, etc.
Yeah, that's something cool. I think that would be cool. I think I'd need to talk to the casino devs about that, but they probably could implement something like that.
Cool stuff. Cool stuff. Good idea. Thanks, Dirk.
Mhm.
Or Dirk, if I would pronounce it in the way that where the name came from, which is Dutch. Um, Neat Grape also says, "Hey, lava boy." I know there has been talk of using treasury funds to generate some revenue for wine stakers through trading bots or other means. I was wondering what your thoughts would be on distributing those rewards to as vintage stakers instead. Oh, as vintage guys are going to steal away from us wine guys. I'll wait with the rest of the question to let you answer.
I mean that's an interesting idea. I think I mean it's definitely possible, but I think what I will do first is kind of implement the game revamp to utilize that token a little bit more um, before we start distributing some revenue. I mean, there's also a possibility that we can distribute revenue in a different way, where the wine, where it doesn't impact the wine stakers, where instead it's from the game directly. If we have a way to have some sort of revenue from the game, um, maybe through raisin minting that can be distributed to S vintage instead, so then it doesn't even impact what would go to wine anyway. So something to think about.
Yeah, something like that. So it's basically the game making sure that the S vintage holders get
Yeah,
some
it's like a
good stuff.
self-contained, it's its own thing.
Yeah, that that sounds, logical as well
Hmm.
to my ears. Um, okay, and then he also says with the vineyard ending, wine is a token that will have plenty of exposure to good stuff, thanks to Vinium, grape governance, and seigniorage. But winemakers may need some help getting yield without their vintage. It's an inflationary game token, with grapes still overinflated. Incentivizing winemaker further seems like a great way to add protocol liquidity and keep that burn rate going up. After all, when people buy and burn grape, every part of the ecosystem benefits. So that's his
Yeah,
reason.
it definitely makes sense. I think we can do something there. I think, but without sort of directly. As I said, we could implement it into the game where the game provides that itself, so it's kind of self-contained.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, then we go to the AMA live chat, and we're starting with Neat Grape that says, "Hey, that's a good deal on a bike. What a good start of the year." Yeah, thanks. So before we started the AMA, I was saying that I had managed to buy a Honda CB650 for about 2,600 euros, or a little over. I think it was 2,650, and that is a good deal because it's a cool old bike from 1979 and it's in really good condition. So I'm really happy. So thanks. Um, Moving on, Sam thinks I should get a Ducati and do wheelies. Dirk had a CB750 Key A0. I don't really know what that means. I might have to check it. And someone else had a ZX6R, and there's someone with a KTM, Neat Grape, and Sam. I, I don't know. I just, I'm new to motorcycles, but it's cool to see so many bike owners here, and because I think that's also a type of person in a way to have people who like riding a bike because it's a lot. There's a lot of increased freedom there, but there's also a lot of increased risk, and
Yeah.
uh, uh, it's funny to see that apparently our community has a couple of bikers in there because that's also what crypto is. It's increased freedom and it's increased risk.
Yeah,
So I guess it's a personality trait here.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Uh, yeah, we're live. Need Money says, can we get confirmation that wine receives revenue share from all chains? I think so. Yes, right.
Yeah, well, I mean, it should. We just need some sort of way to distribute that. But we can figure that out. I think what will happen is one will definitely get some sort of share from each of the chains, or each of the things, even each of the apps within the ecosystem itself is kind of the idea, not just specified to like one thing.
Yeah. So just yes, basically. Basically, yes. We get revenue from all chains. Neat Grape wants to hang out on my land. Well, just I think you're welcome. I I mean I can't know for certain yet, but as far as I know you, you're welcome. Go sip some wine there, pick some grapes. Yes. Well, you can be responsible for the grape vines, I guess, and the winemaking. That's good. And he also says, Nikki, I don't have any S Vintage. I just like what S Vintage does for the rest of the ecosystem. It all ties together. Yeah. Okay. So you weren't going there for your own crew. That's okay though. Thanks for thinking along. Need Raisin wants to know when Anotica update.
Yeah, I'm gonna make an announcement on that today, in a few hours, and just to give people.
In a few hours. Oh my god, it's happening.
Yeah, just to give people some time to withdraw and then, or claim your stake, in other words, and then we need to switch that over. And I need to
All right,
update
all
the
right.
raisin prices too. That's another thing.
Ah, okay. Well, I guess this will follow in the update in a few hours. Um, stay tuned. It's basically when the Americans wake up, or
Yeah, yeah.
okay. Moving on. Sam doesn't want me to crash because we love you too much. Thanks, Sam. The thing is, this guy
He
that
didn't
is
crash.
on,
Yeah.
he didn't crash.
That's
I mean,
good.
there's this GIF here. This guy actually managed to get back on the bike in a spectacular way. Oh my god! Go and check the AMA live chat for this GIF because damn. Okay, Need Wen is hardly all the way. Um, Neat Grape feels seen when we compare crypto to bikes like that. Yeah. Uh, oh, well, this is a good question here. Neat Raisin says, do you think being Anon has limited this project?
um, I don't think so. Actually, I think if you look at what basically what the highest grape was. I mean, we were number one on AVAX. 13, 14 mil TVL. Um, had more liquidity in MIM than MIM itself at the time.
Yeah, that was a good time.
I think I don't think it was. I don't think it really impacted it. I think obviously it takes some time to build some trust, but I think as people have seen through this year anyway, it's like a false security by having claiming, oh, we're a docs team or whatever, which we do have members of the team which are obviously doxed, like
Well, I am.
yourself, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's kind of like a false security with people. Same thing as like, oh, I've got an audit. People just look for those
Mm.
certain things, but they don't really mean anything by themselves. Because we can look at basically who are the biggest rugs this year. I'm pretty sure FTX,
Yeah.
FTX,
They were
Celsius,
doxed.
and
They were pretty well
yeah,
doxed.
yeah, exactly. FTX, Celsius, and was Terra, Luna, all
Yeah.
doxed. They're the guys that
Yeah.
stole your money, and
Yeah.
they're all doxed, and a lot of them had full-on companies too,
Yeah.
and a lot of them were very in with the regulators in the US too, and they still stole your money. So I don't think it really means anything, and I don't think it impacted us that much anyway, because I think did we achieved a very high level in earlier on in the year. So
Yeah. Definitely. I do agree with you. And I feel that I do think that doxing gives an extra sense of security. It just means that, hey, if I'm gonna fuck up, you can go after me.
Hmm.
But if you're big enough, that doesn't matter. Just look at Do Kwon and look at SBF and whatever. Well, SBF is being caught
He's being,
right now.
but the
Yeah,
money is still gone.
yeah, like it's still, you're still rugged. Um, so yeah, I get that. I just think it's important to look at the way a project is run. I
Hmm.
personally, because I'm a tokenomics guy, I would say look at the tokenomics. I mean, of course, you can look at the code. And for people who can read code, that's very important. I think you should. But also look at the tokenomics, see where money comes from and how it's used. For example, with Celsius, and I think FTX had that as well. It just said, hey, when you start an account with us, you get some free money. You get actual free Bitcoin whenever you start up an account. Where's that coming from? Right? That doesn't make all that much sense. If they don't say where it's coming from, then how are they able to do that? And it's not a relative number either. Like, for example, as I just told you, we're planning with Artsy, we're planning to use the revenue from our platform to spread it over the token. With Vinium, it's the same thing. Use the revenue from the token to from the platform to spread it over wine holders. Um, but that means that you cannot say how much you're giving because you don't know yet. You look at the revenue and then you spread it. And that's a fair way. But these companies were saying different things. It was like, yeah, you just get that. And that fe- should feel very scammy to anyone, right? To have a certainty like that. Um, and I think a lot of crypto projects do that as well, where they say, "Hey, it's gonna rise that much every day, no matter what, or you're going so getting so much extra no matter what." Oh, really? Then what does that come from?
Yeah, yeah. And there's always
So
another side. Yeah.
yeah, look at the tokenomics and make sure that that you understand where your revenue or your money or your increase in money is coming from. And that's not to say, of course, that you cannot dive into a hyper risky deflationary project. I mean, you absolutely can. For example,
Hmm.
Horde did pretty well, and all they did was use their revenue to fund their liquid management system and to make sure that that money would last for a long time. But
Mm.
it's still in the end sort of a pyramid system where the last
Hmm.
people in are just losing their money, and
Hmm.
that's fine if you take that risk. If you're okay with that risk, then by all means jump in, because it's sort of a game,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But if you want to be investing into a project, then that you want to be a long-term investor, then look at where the revenue is coming from.
Hmm.
That's what I think is important. And also look at the code if you can. I mean,
Hmm.
that's just hard. But
Hmm.
for me, it's hard. I don't read that language, not as well at least. I can understand some of it, but not a lot. Okay. Moving on. Uh, oh yeah, here we go. There's hype. I need 2 days to withdraw. Yeah. Hey, LB, you're a car guy. Are you a bike guy as well?
Uh, Probably not as much as a car guy, I guess. I do. I definitely like bikes. There's definitely some cool bikes. And they can get pretty crazy. Maybe I don't own any bikes. I've never owned any bikes. I would though own maybe like a race bike, something like that. But man, you're gonna have some balls to really ride it though, and ride it properly. It can get intense. So
To ride it the way it's supposed to ride.
yeah, yeah.
All right. Although Sam has got a pretty picture of you painted here with So,
Say,
sports drag car going all through the air. This is
you know,
LP
if
in
it's got a
Australia.
roll cage, it's all right.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. Xgripe say, can't wait to see Vinny and Grape on the sides of V8 supercars. Yeah, man, we got purple ones going on there. Moving on. Mind blowing. Blessed by Grape Gods says mind blowing. Um, Blessed by Grape Gods also say, hey fam, long time no see. Well, welcome back.
There you
Welcome
go.
back. Xgripe says, oh, how's Vinium going on Arbitrum testnet?
Yeah, good.
Did you have it on Arbitrum testnet
Yeah,
already?
we do. I had an issue with the hooking the UI up to the testnet version, but that's not really a big deal. Something to do with the RPC. Not an issue. Not a big deal because I know the mainnet works fine. Um, but really, we're talking to Arbitrum now, the team there to kind of help us with the launch on there and maybe get some liquidity too. Which would be good because there's a lot of good opportunities on Arbitrum for LPs that we can leverage. There's a lot of good yield stuff on Arbitrum. It was like I'm mentioning before, all those delta neutral vaults that use GLP, a lot of them on Arbitrum, because that's where a lot of the GMX volume is. Most of it's on Arbitrum. And so, that's things like that we can leverage really nicely, or we can use as collateral. So that's sort of why we're going to Arbitrum next. And yeah, we should actually have mainnet launch there not too long of a time, really.
I guess I should bridge myself to Arbitrum. I have no presence there
You should
yet.
definitely get on Arbitrum anyway because they should do an airdrop at some point, and
Oh yeah.
it's
What do you need to get the airdrop? Just hold their token or something?
well
Or how does it work?
they haven't released any specifics yet,
Hmm.
so it's basically just bridge to the chain, preferably using like their bridge, the Arbitrum bridge. And then just
Ah,
use a bunch of apps there, like Uniswap's there. You can use Curve.
just just move some money around.
Let's do some stuff there. But
Yeah,
it's a good chain too. Like it's cheap, it's fast. It
oh,
uses
that's
ETH as
nice.
gas. But there's a lot of cool apps there,
Yeah,
and I mean even Trader Joe's there now. So
cool as.
yeah,
Yeah, nice.
it's definitely worth using the chain. Not
Yeah, it's
just for the
nice also
airdrop.
to have a. Yeah, it's also nice to have a chain where you can use ETH as gas and it's still cheap. That's
Yeah, yeah,
great.
very
I
cheap.
like. I like. Now time for paxg to get there. Um, okay, that ends the AMA live chat. I wanted to get back on this um, large pool versus shallow pool thing for the price because we mentioned that for a while. Are you okay talking about that for a bit?
Yeah.
So I was wondering, to we have seen a bit of a pump on wine lately, and we're holding for grape, which is good. Um, but to get back up, we, I I kind of feel that it would be a lot easier if the pool would be shallower. Do you feel the same, or do
Yeah,
you
yeah.
think that would not be a great idea?
No, it's obviously you have less liquidity in the pool and less pools in general. It's much easier to impact the price. We do have to watch for the amount of loose grape we have, which is a bit too much right now. Because if the price pumps too
Mhm.
hard on the low liquidity, with all the loose grape, well then it's going to revert very quickly too.
Yeah,
So
people are just gonna sell at this new price, and
yeah, yeah. So
uh,
that's the issue. The issue is kind of the loose grape. So that's also why we've um, gotten rid of some of the pools, like the
yeah,
LPs, like the Grape War, so that there's no arb through that one. which can impact price as well. And then same with grape wine, you know that one's not going to be incentivized going forward either, so we can get rid of that.
Yeah.
And we've kind of moved more into the swapsicle one. I think they've stabilized. They're a bit even, but I think a lot of people probably just left it in there for a long time. And I think the thing with the Trader Joe pool is it's on Beefy, and I think swapsicle's on Beefy too. But anyway, people, you know, Beefy people that use Beefy are kind of like the guys that will sit and forget, because it's an order compound that makes perfect sense. So um, that's probably
Yeah,
why.
they usually don't even go to the to the
Yeah,
communities they're
yeah,
investing in.
exactly.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
on the site, which they look at the API. It makes you do that. It's an efficient way to get some yields. But
yeah,
I think we do want shallow liquidity at this stage, so we can kind of impact price nicely and possibly migrate very easily too.
hmm
So we're leaning towards having more having shallower liquidity than having more liquidity at this stage, or at least having us uh, have a decent amount of that liquidity. Um,
yeah. I'm at a bit of a conundrum here for myself. Like I at the same time I feel that if people would have Xgrape and borrow against Xgrape, then whenever the grape price rises, they would just be able to borrow more, and because their Xgripe also rises in value. But at the same time, if you put down a lot more Xgripe, then the pool gets less shallow. So
yes, yeah.
it's kind of counter counterintuitive or something. I don't really know where I
Mm-hmm,
stand on
mm-hmm,
this. I feel it's great for people to just enter Xgrape, but at the same time, that means that will take longer for us to get out of these lows and back to bag.
Yeah,
Um,
it is a bit of a double-edged sword there. I do still think that having X grape is better than technically loose grape, um,
yeah, me too.
because you have too much loose grape, as we mentioned. It's if the price goes up too high, well then and the liquidity is too low, then it's going to impact that
Mm,
greatly. Um, so it is a little bit of
yeah,
a balancing act, and I think when we sort of going forward with a plan, we need to take that into account too.
yeah, yeah. I definitely still feel that people, who are um, who don't want to sell their grape, but they still have a lot, just get into Xgrape and borrow against it, because then you can just keep it and still uh, have it be useful for
Yeah,
yourself.
have some access to
Uh,
liquidity.
yeah, because exactly, because the grape, um, I mean, you're pairing the grape with MIM, and then you can borrow exactly as much as the MIM you put in at current uh, borrowing rates. And as soon as that increases at some point, when it becomes more stable, which will if there are more people in it, then you can borrow even more, and then there's no reason to sell grape anymore. So if you're a friend to the project and you would just want to keep your grape, but you still want to, do something with it, then I think that's the way to go. Um, but yeah, that's just my opinion, I guess. I've been touting this a lot.
Yeah,
I'm called
watch
Neat Vinium for a reason.
tutorials. Yeah.
Yeah, the tutorials state that. So I actually put myself on video saying this. This is great. This is the way. This is the way. Okay. Um, I think. Do you have any alpha to end this with?
Hmm. Well,
We already
maybe I just
already gave some
I
alpha,
gave some out.
but
With Arbitrum is the next sort of goal for Vinium. and
Yeah,
we're talking to them, so we're going to launch there relatively soon, and hopefully with some more liquidity too, which would be good for the platform to borrow against.
nice, nice. So, yeah, wrapping it up. That was wow. We even stayed within the time. That's unique for an AMA. I'm surprised. But maybe this time is better. Just get the Americans out and know
It's better for me
we
this
have one.
time. It's probably better for
It's
you.
better
I don't
for
know.
me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it is. The other time just takes the middle of the day for me. So
Mhm.
unless I really wreck myself on a Saturday night, because then this time would still be fully
Yeah,
hungover. But
yeah.
I don't do that often, so usually this time is better. Um, okay. Thank you so much for being here as always. And that also goes for the community. Thank you for your questions, and thank you for your continued support. And see you next
Yeah.
week.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week.
All right then. Bye bye.